What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 7 of Masters in Marketing. We have another fantastic guest. From what I hear, he is the best marketer north of the US border. He is that good. Marc Levesque is the co-founder of Webrunner. It is a marketing company that helps contractors across North America. So even if you're in the US, he can still help you out, acquire customers more profitably and more predictably. That's the biggest problem that he's solving, right? Are you sick of unpredictable sales and leads month over month? Maybe the leads aren't as profitable as you'd like them to be. Well, he can help you solve that, right? So, Marc, thank you so much for joining me today, my friend.
Nick, it's awesome to be here, sir. I'm happy that you reserved Lucky 7 for me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is gonna be the number 1 episode though, right here. It might be number 7, but this is gonna be the best episode. I promise you that. So Marc, no pressure, all right?
I appreciate that. Appreciate it.
So Marc, how did you get into marketing? Do you always kind of know that this was something you wanted to do? Were you always kind of interested in this space, or did it kind of just happen?
Yeah, great question, Nick. Well, first, let me start by saying that the title of this series here is Masters in Marketing. I actually don't have a master's in marketing, unfortunately, but I'm definitely a scholar, a student of marketing. I've been in the trenches for years. I unfortunately can't take credit for the results that, as an agency, we put out for customers. This is not a one-man show. We got a full team behind us here, and really lucky for that. But ultimately, marketing is something that I kind of fell into. I've always held more biz dev and sales type roles. And naturally over time, I mean, my passion for technology and marketing, things kind of just aligned. We kind of met up and I figured, hey, you know what, this is what I want to do. Years back, I was in the ad tech space. We used to consult for ad agencies. And I was like, you know what, this is really neat. Let's meld marketing and business and sales, put that together and start a company. So that's how Webrunner was kind of started.
I think that's the biggest thing that you just said there, right? Is I actually also came from a sales background before starting Summa. And there's always been that misconnect between sales and marketing. You ever notice that like sales is always blaming marketing is always blaming sales. It's one of those situations where it's always somebody else's fault. And ideally, some of the things that you guys are doing can kind of connect those two bridges with a bridge.
Yeah, for sure. It's it's the kind of the chicken or the egg, right? Marketing wants to drive good quality leads. Sales is, if they're not closing deals, it's marketing's fault. It's, I don't know.
It's always somebody's fault, right? But so all right, so you guys at Webrunner, you guys are located in Canada, right? And you guys exclusively work with contractors. How did you decide to make that decision?
Yeah, so a couple of years back, actually. I mean, I would say since Webrunner started, we've had home improvement businesses as part of our roster, but it was never really something that we were focused entirely on. So it was kind of by accident. And I hear that's kind of commonplace in the industry.
Very common.
But so we just, we were evolving as a business, naturally as a full service company. I'm going years back now. Every year you do your offsites, you meet with your senior leadership, your management team, and you look at what you could be doing better as a business. For us, we've always been trying to streamline our processes. We want to be more efficient, streamline the operations, focus the offering. And at the time, we used to work with all sorts of different industries, and so and largely in a paid advertising capacity. So we were focused on the service side, but not so much the industry. And so for us, that was kind of a next logical thing to do is, okay, we've streamlined our offering. We don't do, websites and SEO and social media. We only do paid acquisition, but we're still trying to do that for many different industries. And what you would do for an e-commerce business is drastically different than what you do for a home improvement company who's marketing to homeowners, So we went through our customer roster and figured that we preferred to work with people in the home improvement space because we were just better aligned to support them. And so we sort of reinvented ourselves as a business, shifted away from anything that wasn't home improvement. And that's how we got to where we are today. So I'd say for the past maybe 4 or 5 years now, we've been exclusively running advertising campaigns for customers in the home improvement space. So it's very much a one-trick pony.
And it's honestly, it's a good business lesson as well for the contractors out there that are listening. So, Marc was able to take Webrunner and narrow down his services and who he works for, right? And he was able to build his company make it more scalable, right? More efficient, and be able to consistently drive results for their customers because they've been there, done that, right? So, and they were able to systemize it. So if you're a roofing contractor out there, and maybe you're struggling because you're doing a variety of trades or whatever it might be. Maybe you're trying to do too many things, right? And maybe you promise them that you'd fix their fence for them and all this kind of stuff, right? Maybe kind of step back from that and be the best at one or two things, right? And then you're able to kind of build systems and processes to become really well known for being great at those things. So now when you're looking at Marc Webrunner, he's known for being great at paid ad acquisition, right? For home services, and it's worked out really well for him. So Marc, how has digital marketing? I mean, technology just in general, I guess, is absolutely insane. How rapidly it has changed over the last 10, 20 years. If you look at Facebook now, they're about to become Meta. It's crazy. But just in the contractor world, how has digital marketing changed since you started working with contractors?
Yeah, it's evolved like crazy. I mean, not only from the publisher standpoint, right? So the ad platforms that we're working with, I mean, they're constantly evolving. So marketers are having to constantly educate themselves to stay on the up and up. But just the industry evolves. The home improvement industry has evolved. The pandemic, and I hate bringing it up because I feel like it's behind us, but I mean, it changed the way people do business, right? It's accelerated the rate at which people have adopted the notion of doing virtual sales presentations. I would say their expectations are higher than they've ever been, right? People are
very high.
Are used to being sort of catered to now because I don't have to leave my house. People can just send me everything digitally. And so I'd say as a home improvement business, you've had almost no choice but to kind of, jump on these trends. Otherwise you're becoming obsolete. So, I mean, there's enormous amount of things that have changed there's challenges with labor shortages and, materials, and these are different dynamics that also pose a challenge in the contracting space. So, I mean, we're on the lead gen side. Years back, that was everyone's problem. Maybe not so much, top priority for people now. Now it's, we're doing a lot more lead gen campaigns to help our customers attract and retain talent, right?
So that's interesting. Could we dive into that actually a little bit? Because, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I feel like that's what I'm hearing everywhere. I can't get good help. I mean, maybe the phones are ringing and everything like that, but I can't get help. So you guys are actually using paid ads to help on the recruiting side of things.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all in the service business. Yourself, myself, and our mutual customers, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're only as good as our people. So if you think about it, anybody who's investing substantial dollars into marketing, they're doing so because they want to acquire leads to generate customers, right? And ideally, they're landing those customers and leveraging the relationships to go and get more. So if you've got this well streamlined, process, you run an efficient, system, and your people are trained and educated on how to maximize the return on those initial dollars that you're putting into the front end of the machine, you stand to see a lot more success than somebody who's kind of churning and burning, right? So if you're signing customers, but you're half-assing the install, your communication's terrible, it takes you forever to respond. One, it's a poor experience for the customer, right? It's a terrible customer experience. And then two, internally, working for an organization like that, I mean, people after a while, they get fed up. They'd rather go work for another company who's got things dialed in. They're generating leads. They've got a great reputation. I mean, it's just not even a debate, right? That's who you want to work for. So that's how people need to think about structuring their business. And I think the companies that are really forward thinking, they're investing marketing dollars not only to acquire customers, but also to make sure that when they build and grow their team, they're investing dollars to train, educate that talent, retain the talent, and then help them scale the headcount internally.
That's a really good point. We focus on building up this brand. We focus on building up this company to be able to handle as many customers as possible and attract as many customers as possible. But really, that same brand, everybody who when you have a job application out there and you're trying to get people to fill that out for you, they're looking at your reviews, they're looking at your website, they're looking at your social media, they're looking at all these different things, right, to see what you're all about, right? And if you're able to attract top talent, that top talent is going to take care of your customers, right? So you can look at it both ways. It's like, hey, how can I build my company to handle and provide value for the top talent out there? Because then good things are going to happen for my company.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I like that for sure. So for those, before we dive too deep into this, right? For those who may not know, right, what exactly is a paid acquisition system?
Yeah. So a paid acquisition system is simply the notion of investing dollars to predictably acquire customers, right? So our wheelhouse is any online advertising network where you can spend money. So if you think of search, synonymous with pay-per-click, search engine marketing, platforms like Google and Bing, that's what we leverage to get in front of consumers, homeowners who have a very specific intent. They know they've got a problem, they're looking for a solution. Right? If we want to repair or replace something, we resort to Google 9 times out of 10.
Yep.
The alternative would be maybe asking a peer group, local community group, things like that. Right? So outside of search, and we've got social, which is another huge channel, and we leverage this channel to put messages in front of people. The idea is to put the right message, the right time, right place, right person, and that's kind of art and science. A lot more creative. Customers have to be a lot more involved. But ultimately, if we put a message in front of somebody and it resonates, not necessarily on the first instance, but over time, we're more likely to get that individual to reach out to us when the time is right for them. So those are, different channels. We can talk, display. There's all sorts of areas where we can spend dollars, but that's, fundamentally the concept. It's take dollars, invest into these platforms. We're basically buying traffic. This traffic, these eyeballs, we're redirecting them to a property that we own, so a website or a landing page, something like that. And then we're trying to capture people who are on these pages, turn them into visitors. I say capture, I don't like the terms, like a tricky marketing term, but ultimately we're getting homeowners to our destinations. We're showcasing who we are, what we do, how we do it with integrity, and how we would be the right choice. Let's have a conversation. So that's kind of like a funnel, if you will, right? So traffic, landing page, lead, and then the lead gets kicked over to the customer. The idea, Nick, and this is where I think most people fall short, is a lead acquisition system is something that you can look at with confidence and trust in knowing that if you put dollars into the front end, you know what's going to be spit out on the back end. And it's a system, a machine that you can kind of optimize, right? It's like somebody who races cars, right? You take a car to a track, you're going to do your quarter mile, it's going to spit out a time. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to try to improve your vehicle, optimize the performance to get that car to do your quarter mile in less time. Very, very similar concept. You cannot look at your marketing and scratch your head and say, gee, I don't know where that next customer is coming from, and I'm not quite sure what it should cost me to acquire that customer. You look at any well-established business, they know these numbers like the back of their hand, and with confidence, they can tell you, yeah, we're going to grow this year from whatever, 15 million to 20 million. And this is where we're going to be able to go and get that growth. Right?
And that's where, having a CRM system and having other tools and resources in your company to be able to understand that data or even have that data to make strategic decisions and make adjustments as needed is going to be so big. Now, I have to ask you this. So let's say that, I generate a lead. It could be from, online. It could be from whatever it could be from. It doesn't really matter. And I call that individual and they don't pick up. Is that lead dead? And I should never call that again?
Well, that depends. It depends on you. I can tell you how I would treat it. In my mind, it's not dead, right? Unfortunately, there are businesses where they're just, like look at my cup here, Nick. Just get more leads.
Yeah.
Right. That's not always the solution, and people think it is, right? More leads. What happens when you've got an abundance of leads? Your team is spread thin. You've got so many leads that when a lead comes in, they call, they don't reach them. The hell with it. I've got a whole bunch more leads just waiting for me, right? that's akin to, taking your hard-earned money and just lighting it on fire.
That's pretty
So
much what
yeah,
it is. Yes.
it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So have some kind of system to follow up with these leads, right? You're spending either your time or your money to generate these leads. And if they don't answer, right, try to figure out a way to utilize technology to set up follow-up systems or whatever it might be. The biggest thing is we don't want that lead to go to waste, because otherwise, you're wasting your hard-earned money, right? So if you have more leads, that's great, right? But use technology to just keep that thing going just in case, and it could spark some additional opportunities. I mean, follow-up is so crucial in your business. So now when what kind of expectation, I guess, should contractors have when they're just starting paid ads?
Well, I think the point that we were just touching on is an important one. A lot of time people want to throw money at a problem. Customer acquisition is a problem, but when professionals like ourselves assess the situation and say, you know what, throwing money at the problem, yeah, you'll get some leads, but until you fix this back end issue, you won't see as great a return on your marketing dollars as you could. So usually, it's kind of a two-way street. They're vetting us, we're vetting them. And I think, you're talking about technology, automating response time. This is key. That should be an expectation that contractors have. We can pretty confidently determine ahead of time whether or not someone's going to see success with campaigns, right? If they can tell us, yeah, we've got people trained on how to answer inbound calls, how to respond to emails, we've got live chat on point. We can respond within 3 to 5 seconds. Someone doesn't pick up, within a half an hour, an email is being sent out. There's another phone call within the hour. And then the next day, again, another follow-up. Oh, and by the way, we do this 21 times over the next 3 weeks. A lead follow-up system like that, I mean, you're way more likely to see success. And so that's the kind of thing that I'd say home improvement businesses need to really get figured out. It's the biggest opportunity. So
it really is a big opportunity. So I mean, pretty much have processes for client communication or prospect communication. Have scripts, have game plans, and kind of if you can systemize that customer experience, right, from a lead all the way to closing on that job, where you're using technology, you're using scripts, all that kind of stuff to have the exact same experience, right? That's kind of the goal, and good things will happen. So it kind of goes hand in hand with my next question, probably then. But I was going to ask you, why some people don't see success with online ads, right? It doesn't really matter what type of marketing. There's always going to be people who have complaints, about it. Like, oh, I spent X amount of dollars and I got 0 leads from it, or whatever it might be, right? There's always people who didn't have success. Is it usually actually more on the client communication side, maybe not having that stuff set up?
I think, Nick, there's so many things we can throw at this question that we'd be here for days to really answer it properly. I mean, at a very high level, the advice that I would give anyone watching who's looking to obviously solve their marketing challenges, I would say get in the driver's seat, get into the shoes of a homeowner who's looking to have something repair, replace, fix, whatever it is, and mystery shop your own company. Go through that experience, see what it's like, and you'll get a pretty good sense or feel for where you're kind of falling short. So I'd say if you're looking to leverage digital, sometimes I have conversations where people, never done any digital marketing before. It's still common today, believe it or not. Yeah. And there's so much opportunity for theyese companies, right? They've $5, $6, $7 million business. And they've never done anything online. It's amazing.
It's pretty wild. Yeah.
So what we look at is, okay, well, let's look at the business, right? Sometimes from a website, you can tell, right? You see the faces of the people, the owner, family-owned business. They've been in the space for years. They're well-known in the community. They give back. They've got raving reviews online. Everybody loves them. A company like that's way more likely to see success than another company who is just some faceless brand, no reviews, and is just looking for somebody to wave a magic wand and fix their lead problem.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So a lot to do with mindset, expectations, budget's another huge factor, Nick. Like sometimes people expect X amount of lead volume or sales increase, but they just don't know how to navigate the number side of it. And so expectations don't align with what's realistic. What's
not. Possible. Let's be honest too. It's not cheap, right? I mean, you to acquire leads, no matter what it is, it's not like it's going to be super cheap, especially if you're looking at markets. In like a market like Denver, for example, I'm out here in Denver, and I mentioned this before. Is no matter what marketing you do in Denver, it's gonna be tough, right? So have realistic expectations, but the thing is, it can have a huge ROI if you do it right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Realistic expectations. It is expensive. It's only getting more expensive.
Yeah.
And I mean, just think about this. If you look at a search engine. What are people bidding on? It's an auction at the end of the day, right? So if 10 companies are all offering the same service, they're all bidding more or less on the same keywords. That's driving up the price of these keywords. So over time, it does get more and more expensive to the point where it can render a platform unprofitable. It becomes difficult to see returns from a platform. So again, come back to some of the earlier points that we discussed. Unless you've got confidence in a system that you've put in place to take 10 leads, turn them into 3 or 4 sales, and turn those 3 or 4 sales into maybe one repeat job down the road and maybe 2 referrals. Great. Well, now you're taking your 30-40% close, and you're getting that above 50% because of systems, processes, people, So, yeah.
So one thing when we're talking about paid traffic, a landing page is going to be a big aspect of the campaign. Do you have any tips on landing pages, or is there any things that landing pages must have or should avoid or anything like that?
For sure. Here's where we're thinking about the customer experience, relevancy. These are things that are important. So typically a page would be designed to address the needs, the concerns, and the intent of an individual homeowner. So if I'm looking for, let's say, commercial roofing, don't take me to a page where I'm looking at residential homes. Right away, there's a disconnect there. There's a mismatch. It doesn't speak to me, right? So you've got the imagery, you've got the copy, you've got offers, you've got the brand, right? These are all things that you need to consider when you're looking to position elements on your landing page. Far too often, we'll see people running, and again, this is, I think, something that happens often when you work with a firm that can do everything for you. And I'm not knocking the full service firms out there. There are some great ones, but it's an area where, we see people struggling. So they'll work with somebody who has, built the website and done the SEO and is helping you with outreach and doing their radio advertising, their TV and their truck wraps and everything. And now they're firing up a pay-per-click campaign or a Facebook campaign. And yeah, no worries. We'll just send it to your website. And then the traffic gets sent to a web page where the site was clearly optimized and geared more towards a search engine than an individual. And that really shouldn't be the case, because even good SEOs and good web development firms should be able to sort of cater to both the needs of an individual while respecting the needs of a search engine and the bots that are crawling these pages, right?
They're expecting a different experience, though, like you said, for sure. If they're doing, absolutely.
So that's it. So I mean, a landing page, it's to the point. There's not a lot of fluff on there. Very limited in terms of verbiage. Very heavy on the imagery side, but again, not to the point where it's decreasing load times. So that's something that's important. There's always a huge flex on the credibility, right? How long you've been in business? What are your certifications? What accreditations do you have? What work have you done? Prove it to me now. Show me other homeowners that you've done work for. And this, again, from an expectation standpoint, let's go back to your previous question. Yep. Somebody who's new to the industry or to the market or whatever, if they don't have tons and tons of jobs under their belt, it's difficult to go and put all this collateral that a homeowner would want to see onto a page, and therefore prolonging the amount of time it's going to take them to see success. And these are all things that are conducive to higher conversion rates, getting more people to reach out and call you. And so, I mean, a landing page, quite simply, is all about being very relevant to what the person searched or what you had in the ad, and eliminating anything that's not in line with what you're trying to get them to do, which is to take action and call you. So it's not about educating them till the sun goes down. It's, we're the right company. If this is what you're looking for, sounds like it is what you're looking for. Let's talk. Let's start a conversation.
Yeah, really well said. So now, does paid acquisition system, Now, is this, is it usually Google? Is it usually Facebook? Is it kind of a hybrid mix of utilizing both platforms?
Well, I think a business person, uh, no matter who or where they're from, is in business to output value, right? Provide a service and turn a profit. So
Hmm.
anyone in their right mind, I would think, has every interest in reallocating dollars to whatever's driving the greatest return. So
Yep.
from a paid advertising standpoint, as much as we have our opinions and we have data that may direct us in one direction over another, things need to be tested. So ultimately, we don't discriminate against networks. We want to test them, and we want to validate our thoughts, our opinions, and see what is the best fit for this individual home improvement business in this market with this offer at this time of
Hmm.
year. Right.
Yep. So,
So
so
it's testing. It's the answer that everyone hates is it depends, but it depends.
it's an answer I've heard a lot throughout this series, to be honest with you. But it's the honest truth, right? It's all very situational, and you kind of have to look at where you're at and look at the data, and then make the decision from there. So, and that's
If
one
there,
of. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, Nick. If there were no variables and we were literally comparing, oranges to oranges, yes, somebody could do it with 100% confidence and say, "Yeah, I'm doing it already. Here's what you can expect." Right?
Hmm.
But it's never the
Now,
case.
now, let's say in production, right? In production,
Yep.
there might be uh, this is the way to do it. This is going to be the most efficient, right? In marketing, there's not really a for sure right answer, right? You can kind of put your own, marketing approach together and have great success with it. And someone else could do a different approach and work and have a lot of success as well. So it's not always a completely right answer, right? But hopefully you can find an answer that works.
Exactly. Yep. For
Hmm.
sure.
Now, in your experience, does Facebook ads or video or photos work better?
It depends. It
Look
depends.
at this guy. It
It
depends on me
depends.
again. No, I'm joking.
No, it's the advice that I can share there with listeners is that the currency for these platforms is time, it's attention, right? And depending on the objective, again, we'll run different types of campaigns uh, with a different purpose in mind, right? So sometimes the ad's objective is not to generate a lead. It's not necessarily a direct response, but it's more to like build an audience, right? It's to build a pool of people that can help
Hmm.
us determine who's remotely interested in what we're talking about here, right? So different ads will have different purposes. Typically, these ads are geared to address where people are at in their path to purchase, right? So if in our world, these are people who've never heard of us, they don't know who we are, we want to warm them up a little bit, right? So having campaigns that are geared to build an audience and then engage that audience, we may leverage video for that, right? Or we may really leverage storytelling, or we've got long form copy in our ads. So there's all sorts of different strategies there. But again, it's testing, right? We may think that,
Hmm.
hey, video is really going to outperform, is going to crush it. You run an image ad and boom, there's something about the image that just stops the scroll and gets people to read and gets them to take action. So,
Which is pretty cool. What
yeah.
about the value of retargeting? And if you think there's value there, can we talk a little bit about that and how people should be utilizing that?
Yeah, for sure. And this is a stat that I hate throwing out there, but it's the reality. And in full transparency, was something that people need to expect. If you're going to be doing any type of digital marketing for that matter, but especially paid, 95% of what you do, 90 to 95% of what you do is going to be waste.
Hmm.
So imagine that. I
Which is pretty
think,
wild, right?
yeah, it's pretty crazy. Just to put it bluntly, it's like, yeah, sure, work with us, but just want to make sure you're okay with 90% of your budget being wasted. Is that
But
cool?
hey, that other 5 to 10% though is gonna treat you real good.
Well, that's the idea, right? But
Hmm.
people have to be cognizant of that and really understand that that's what we're up against, right? It's conversion rates. That's how it works. You're going to send 10 people to a page, but you're going to get one person to take action, right? So, okay, great, you got 10%. How do you drive that up? So that's where you
Yep.
test and you try to optimize both, the campaign, the landing page, the whole process. And that's why, again, it's imperative that there be a system on the back end to really help increase the odds and the likelihood of you seeing success with your
Hmm.
campaigns. So, I mean, retargeting, what it does is it helps us capitalize on people who have shown an intent but just quite aren't ready, right? So we're all consumers. We all shop. We all educate ourselves, right? Anytime there's a more a longer sales cycle, Nick, right? So let's say I'm shopping metal roofing, for example, right? Well, I want to educate myself. Why this manufacturer versus that manufacturer, right? Which brand? What's the install process like? How long does it take? Just all sorts of questions that I have. What does it cost? What are the warranties, right? How do I hire the right contractor? These are all questions that I'm going to educate myself on as a customer prior to reaching out to have a conversation with someone. I'm coming in educated. Most people are like that nowadays, right? Knowledge is at our fingertips. We're overwhelmed with ads. So, I mean, we try to do our own due diligence kind of upfront to come semi-prepared, semi-ready for a conversation, a sales conversation with a home improvement business. So retargeting helps us get back in front of people who have shown an intent, just weren't ready yet, right?
And would you say that you're seeing more conversions in like a retargeting ad than that first initial ad for the most part?
Not necessarily more, but definitely an increase in overall conversions, right? So the beauty there is that somebody can come in through one channel, but then we can hit them up on other networks, right? So somebody may conduct a search online. Boom, we've identified there's intent. They made their way to this particular landing page. That's the keyword they searched. That's some pretty good information. So now we can retarget them, get back in front of them with the intention of getting them back to our website or to our landing page to convert, to reach out to you. So it's a must, right? The idea is that you have to be spending, sometimes people just getting into digital, they hear retargeting, they're like, yeah, that's the best thing. I get retargeted online all the time. I'm shopping something and now I see ads everywhere for the brand. I want to do this, and they think that's going to, make or break it. It's not the case. You have to be spending enough dollars in order for that to actually make a dent in anything. So, somebody who's got $50 a day, there's very little, very little that you can go and get if you're not, generating enough conversions with your $50 to begin with,
But the beauty of what you're talking about is basically, you're using, let's say, Google, for example, to drive the first initial traffic to the website, right? And then that same person's now seeing a Facebook ad or whatever it might be to try to drive them back, right? So it's pretty cool to be able to take two different platforms at two different points of that customer journey to try to generate that lead.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of things, like somebody who's been in business for a while, who's got a nice email list built up. I mean, there's ways that information can be leveraged as well to put ads in front of people, right? So who are our existing customers? Maybe we want to promote other services, or maybe we want to, sell. I know in the HVAC and the plumbing world, maintenance is huge. So there's a lot of stuff happening there on that front.
So yeah, always, no matter what, be building your customer list. So I mean, whether it's a list of prospects, your previous customers, whatever it might be, get the name, get the phone number, get the email, get the address, have that information saved, and that'll be great for marketing purposes in the future. What about keeping up to date on everything with like the landscape of Google and Facebook? It seems like they're constantly changing things. And I can only imagine what's going to be when this Facebook goes to Meta. but how is there any good resources that you recommend to try to keep up to date on stuff if roofing contractors are interested?
Yeah, I mean, our blog would be one. We try to
What's the website?
Webrunnermedia.com. So we try to publish, case studies and how-tos, and we're actually getting a lot more into the how-to stuff now because we're looking for ways that can help more people. So stay tuned for more content.
You guys just make an update too in the website?
Recently, yeah, work in progress.
It's looking good. It's looking good.
Oh, it's live. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it's live. It's looking good.
Yeah,
I think this is my first time seeing it. Actually, it looks good.
Cool. Yeah. So other than that, I mean, yeah, there's tons of other industry professionals out there, not necessarily in this industry that we look to for advice for education. I mean, I know here the Facebook team, they're constantly reading up on what's happening in the world of Facebook, and the whole iOS update thing with Apple, and the Google team, they're constantly back and forth with Google. So I mean, I wouldn't say there's one resource that we lean on. But I mean, we're constantly paying for education in all of the different aspects of how we run the business here. We, Conversion Excel, we pay to be part of that academy. There's lots of good CRO stuff in there. Yeah.
What about, so it's funny when these big companies get mad at each other, because what was it? Was it Facebook and Apple that were kind of going at each other a little bit with some of the updates and whatnot, and how you could do some of the targeting stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's always fun to deal with. All right. So let me see here. What about, this is a good one here I wanted to talk about. So what about advertising? So as we're coming into the winter time here, what about marketing during the peak season versus the slow season? Should people pull back a little bit? Is there some more opportunity that people can try to pluck in the slower season?
Yeah, that's a challenging one. I think it's going to differ based on where you're at in your business, right? This is I don't know, Nick, when this is being published here, but let's assume that it's sometime soon. Thanksgiving, holidays. If I am a brand, right, I'm in e-commerce and I'm trying to sell some type of consumer product. Now's a very expensive time to advertise, right? Because in terms of inventory hasn't, and when I say inventory, I'm referring to like eyeballs, right? It's people spending time on the platform, number of impressions that they get. If that remains constant, but there's a flood of advertisers who start, advertising and or previous, they were previously advertising, but now they're doubling down. They're increasing spend just based on the fact that it's, Q4 and they're looking to really drive revenue. It becomes harder to see the returns on the ad spend naturally, right? In the home improvement world, seasonality comes into play. It's not so much that there's a whole bunch of people flooding the market at the same time to advertise, but the demand drops, right? So if you look at search, for example, in some areas, we may see that from November to say Feb, March, things really slow down for a roofer, for example. Well, there's two schools of thought. One may think, okay, well, you know what? There's not as much demand. I'm going to scale back my spend. I'm not going to advertise. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with it. Somebody else may think, you know what? There's people who are going to scale back their spend. They're not going to advertise. So I'm going to stay, foot on the gas. I'm going to continue to advertise, try to drive leads for springtime, not so much for now, but I'll focus more on a branding play to stay top of mind, such that when people are ready to commit and get us up there for an inspection and whatnot, I'm the one that they're thinking of. Right. So I would say that somebody who's maybe earlier on in business doesn't have the luxury of, can't necessarily afford to invest dollars without seeing an immediate return, right? Leads and sales, branding. It's, ideally you'd be able to do both, but if you can't, then maybe you scale your campaigns back. If you're in a position where financially you can run a couple months without necessarily needing to see that immediate return, then definitely advertise through the holidays.
Yep, 100%. Well, Marc, man, hey, it's been awesome to have you on. You're very, very smart guy. And one thing that I always love about Webrunner too is they always got the brand look on point. The graphic design is always fresh over there. So that's nice. I'm more on, my mind's always more on the creative side of things. So I love what you got going. The new website looks great. Cool. So yeah. So what's the best way to get a hold of you, Marc? People are interested in learning more, and like, guys, it's a no-brainer. Reach out to him, talk to him, see what tips, advice you have, and see if you guys could be a good fit.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Really appreciate that, and I'll definitely let our team know that you're stoked about the new brand. They'll
yeah, it's looking fresh.
Coming from you, awesome. In terms of getting in touch, anyone who'd like to learn more about us, head over to webrunnermedia.com. If you want to just have a conversation, book a demo. No strings attached, no high pressure here. And even if you just want insight into what you could or should be doing now, even though you're not ready to work with us, we'll be happy to have a chat. In terms of getting in touch with me personally, you can hit me up on LinkedIn. Just search Marc Levesque Webrunner. You'll find me there. So there you have it.
Awesome, Marc. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining me, my friend.
Thank you, Nick. Pleasure chatting with you, sir.